Don't scroll past this. Stay with me for the next few minutes. I accepted what you're about to, because I believe to hear could be the thing your heart has been praying for in silence. I know you've been walking with a smile on your face, but a war in your spirit. And I know, deep down, you're wondering if you'll ever feel whole again. Let me tell you something. God is about to answer that question. You see, brokenness has a way of convincing you that you're done. That the version of you who was confident, fearless, and full of light is gone forever. You replay the pain, the rejection, the betrayal, and every time you try to stand up again, it's like something whispers, "What's the point?" But that whisper is a lie, because while you were looking at your cracks as a weakness, God was looking at them as the perfect places for His glory to shine through. Confidence doesn't come back just because you decide to act like nothing happened. True confidence is restored when you allow God to heal the wounds you've been hiding. That's why sometimes He lets everything fall apart. Not to break you, but to rebuild you without the parts that were never meant to be there in the first place. I know it hurts. I know it feels like you've lost too much time, too many opportunities, too much of yourself. What if the version of you that's emerging from this pain is stronger, wiser, and more dangerous to the enemy than you've ever been? God doesn't just put the pieces back together. He remakes them into something better, something unshakable, something bold. The enemy wanted your heartbreak to make you timid. He wanted your loss to make you silent. He wanted your mistakes to make you hide. But you're still here. And the fact that you're still here means that there is still work for you to do, still dreams for you to birth, still places for you to stand boldly and say, "I've been broken, but I'm not defeated." When God restores your confidence, it's not the same as the world's version of confidence. This isn't about pretending you've got it all together. This is about walking into rooms knowing, even if everything falls apart again, I accepted you're anchored in something unshakable. This is about looking at your reflection and seeing not what was lost, but what was gained in the fire. You don't have to have every answer. You don't have to be perfect. You just have to believe that the same God who brought you through the last storm will walk you boldly into your next assignment. And when you do, you'll realize something powerful. You were never really broken beyond repair. You were being reshaped for your next level. So stand up, adjust your crown, step forward. Because from this moment on, you're not walking like a victim of your past. You're walking like a daughter who knows her father has already written her victory. You're not broken anymore. You're bold. Pain has a voice, and if you listen to it long enough, it will try to become the loudest sound in your life. It whispers when you wake up. It shouts when you try to dream, and it echoes when you remember how things used to be. Pain has a way of telling you it's over. You missed your chance. You'll never be that woman again. But here's what I've learned. Pain is not a prophet. It's a liar. It only speaks from the wounds you can see, but it doesn't know the plans God is already setting in motion behind the scenes. See, When you've been through loss, heartbreak, or failure, pain tries to make you believe your best days are in your past. It will point to your mistakes, your disappointments, and say, look, this is all you are now. And if you're not careful, you'll start to wear that identity like it's permanent. You'll start to shrink your dreams to fit the size of your wounds. You'll start to measure your future by what you've survived instead of what God can still do. But God, He looks at the same broken places and sees something completely different. Where you see failure, He sees a setup for testimony. Where you see emptiness, He sees room for His glory to fill. Where you see something too shattered to fix, He sees the exact shape He can rebuild into something unshakable. That's why He doesn't always remove the pain immediately. Sometimes He uses it to teach you how to stand, how to fight, how to believe again. The enemy wants you to think your brokenness is proof of your weakness, but God sees it as the soil where strength will grow. He knows that what you went through didn't destroy you. It planted something in you, something you might not even see yet, something that will sprout when the time is right. And when it does, you'll realize that your pain didn't bury you. It planted you. I know it's hard to see potential when all you can see is the rubble of what was. When you've cried yourself to sleep for nights on end. When your prayers feel like they're bouncing off the ceiling. When the people you counted on walked away. It's natural to think this is the end. But remember, God is a master builder. He doesn't just work with perfect material. He works with what's left. And if all you have is a little bit of hope, that's enough for Him to start. Sometimes, pain's biggest lie is that you're too far gone for restoration. It tells you your confidence, your joy, your strength can't be recovered. But the truth is, God can do more with what's left than you could have done with what you thought you needed. He sees you right now, even in the mess, and He's already working on a plan to turn those broken pieces into something beautiful. You may not feel it yet, but every time you choose to get up, every time you choose to pray, even when you don't feel like it, every time you choose to believe that there's more, you're proving pain wrong. You're showing it that you may be broken, but you're not done. You may have been hit hard, but you're still here. And as long as you're still here, God's not finished. Pain can't predict your future. Only God can. When He looks at your life, He doesn't see a finished story of defeat. He sees a woman in process, being shaped, molded, and prepared for something greater. So don't let pain have the final word. It's just a chapter, not the whole book. And God is still holding the pen. When God steps into your story, He doesn't just put a bandage on your wounds and send you on your way. He's not interested in just getting you back to normal, because normal wasn't strong enough to carry the weight of your purpose. When He heals, He goes deeper. He takes what the enemy meant for evil and turns it into something that builds your character, deepens your faith, and strengthens your spirit. He's not just a healer. He's a transformer. See, healing means the pain stops. Transformation means the pain produces something. Healing brings relief, but transformation brings power. And God is after your power. That's why sometimes, when you ask him to fix something, he takes longer than you expected. It's not because he's ignoring you. It's because he's rewriting you. He's not just mending the torn places. He's making you into a version of yourself that could only exist because of what you went through. Think about it. If he had rescued you the moment it hurt, you would have been grateful. Yes, but you wouldn't have discovered the strength you carry now. You wouldn't have learned how to pray the way you do now. You wouldn't have that unshakable faith that says, I've seen him do it before, and I know he'll do it again. Transformation doesn't happen in comfort. It happens in the crushing, in the waiting. In the moments you thought you couldn't survive. The woman you are becoming after the storm is not the same woman who walked into it. You're stronger. You're wiser. You're more discerning. You can spot the traps of the enemy that you used to fall into. You've got a confidence now that isn't based on your beauty, your job, your relationships, or your status. It's rooted in the God who kept you when you thought you'd fall apart. And here's the thing. Transformation isn't always obvious while it's happening. You might still feel fragile, unsure, even scared. But while you're wondering if you're making progress, God is in the background, rebuilding your foundation. He's putting courage where there used to be fear. He's putting wisdom where there used to be confusion. He's putting endurance where there used to be weakness. By the time you step into your next season, you won't just be healed. You'll be unrecognizable to the version of yourself who once thought she couldn't make it. The enemy hoped the pain would break you permanently. He thought the betrayal would silence you. He thought the loss would make you bitter. But God took that same pain and used it to make you bold. He took the rejection and used it to teach you how to stand without needing everyone's approval. He took the heartbreak and used it to expand your compassion for others. This is what transformation looks like. Every scar becomes a source of strength. When God transforms you, he also changes the way you see yourself. You no longer walk into rooms wondering if you belong. You know you belong because you were chosen by the one who holds the universe in his hands. You no longer shrink back when faced with a challenge. You remember the last giant you faced, and you know you've already got what it takes to slay this one too. Transformation doesn't just make you stronger, it makes you fearless in the face of what once terrified you. So, when you look back at what you've survived, don't just thank God for the healing. Thank him for the transformation, because the woman you are now, she's a fighter. She's a warrior. She's a testimony that God doesn't just fix the broken. He builds the unbreakable. We live in a world that tells us broken people should sit down, stay quiet, and wait until they're fixed before they can make a difference. But God doesn't operate like that. He doesn't wait for you to be perfect before he uses you. He uses you while you're still in pieces. The cracks I accepted in your life aren't a reason for him to pass over you. They're the very openings through which his light shines the brightest. What you thought was a disqualification is as actually your qualification. In the kingdom, when you've been broken, you understand pain in a way that the untouched never will. You recognize the look in someone's eyes when they're smiling on the outside, but bleeding on the inside. You hear the unspoken in someone's silence. That's not weakness. That's insight. And that insight is exactly why God can use you to reach people others can't. Your story doesn't push people away. It draws them closer because they know you've been where they are. Look at the people God used in Scripture. They were never the perfect, polished, put together ones. Moses had a speech problem. David had a scandal. Rahab had a reputation. Paul had a past. But in every single case, their brokenness became the very stage where God's glory showed up. Why? Because when he uses someone imperfect, there's no confusion about where the power comes from. It's all him. Your brokenness also makes you dependent on God in a way that comfort never will. When everything is going smoothly, it's easy to think you can do it in your own strength. But when life breaks you, you learn how to lean, how to pray, how to hold on to his promises like they're your lifeline, because they are. That kind of reliance creates a depth of faith that can't be faked. And that faith is what will carry you into your calling. Don't believe the lie that you have to get it all together before you can be used. If that were true, no one would ever qualify. God isn't looking for perfection. He's looking for surrender. He wants hearts that say, I don't have much, but what I do have, you can use. And when you give him your broken pieces, he doesn't just glue them back together. He makes something entirely new, something stronger, something more beautiful than before. Your brokenness also gives you authority in areas you've overcome. When you've survived abuse, you can speak life into survivors. When you've battled depression, you can bring hope to the hopeless. When you've lost everything and seen God restore, you can stand as living proof that he still redeems. You can't fake that kind of authority. It's birthed in the fire of your own story. And here's the thing. Your calling will often be connected to your deepest wound. The enemy thought your pain would silence you, but God plans to use it as your microphone. The very thing you once hid in shame will become the testimony that sets others free. That's why your brokenness doesn't disqualify you. It's your training ground. Every tear, every night you thought you couldn't make it, every moment you felt unworthy, it was shaping you for something greater. So the next time you hear that voice telling you you're too broken, remember this: God is in the business of using broken vessels to pour out his greatest work. If you're cracked, if you've been shattered, if you've been wounded, congratulations. You're exactly the kind of person God loves to send into the battlefield. Because only someone who's been broken knows how to lead others to the one who heals